Okay, so we now have some more clarity on this new H1B visa rule that the Trump administration has brought about, which is that $100,000, which was initially announced on every single H1B visa every year, now turns out it will only be on new applications, and also it will only be a one-time payment that these companies have to do if they want to bring in foreign workers on H1B visas. Now, what does a typical H1B visa entail? That you will get a visa for 3 years. After that, it can be extended for another 3 years. So, generally, at best, you can be there for 6 years on a single H1B visa. Again, as I said, that new clarifications have said that even H1B visas which are to be renewed will not have faced this new fee, the $100,000 fee, which is 87 lakh rupees, right? But think about it, that currently there are about 11 to 12 lakh H1B visa applicants from India who are pending. These are pending in the US. They haven't got the visa, but they're expecting to get it. So most of these are applications which come from Indian IT majors like Infosys, TCS, Cognizant. These are the big companies which apply for the most, and they also get the highest number of H1B visas for Indian applicants. Remember, Indian applicants make up about 70% of all H1B visas in the US. Now, currently, there are about 3 lakh, depending on what estimate you take, up to 5 lakh Indians living in the US on H1B visas. H1B visas are temporary. They don't give you the right to citizenship automatically unless you are put on a fast track to a green card, which some employees would do for for really brainiac employees who they really want to hold on to. But there are about 11 to 12 lakh applicants from India currently who want H1B visas, and it now seems that these people will be affected by the new regime. Why? Because usually at a starting level, an H1B visa applicant or someone who's been brought in on an H1B visa gets between $50,000 to $85,000, right? This makes them significantly competitive because, as the Trump administration's proclamation says, that on an average, an starting level H1B employee, someone who's come in on an H1B employee, earns about 36% less than what you would have to pay to a local American, usually a techie. Now, again, 2/3 of H1B visas, by the way, right now in the last 5 years have been in IT. The other big space where you have a lot of H1B visas is medicine, especially healthcare, where a lot of resident doctors actually move past their medical degree, then they are employed or sometimes brought in from foreign countries as well to be residents. These are not high-paying jobs. These are relatively low-paying jobs. They become high-paying once you become a senior, and then you become an attending and all that thing, and you become a surgeon or whatever. Obviously, becoming a doctor becomes pretty lucrative in the US. But initially, when you're a resident, you don't really earn that much. So even to bring in a resident by a hospital, right? $100,000, all right, maybe you'll keep them for 3 years. That means $33,000 per year more than what you would have paid them. If you want to extend that, and remember, there are going to be new changes which might make it difficult to extend the H1B, and if you want to extend that, okay, that will come down to half. So someone you bought in at $85,000 suddenly becomes pretty expensive because they will now be about $120,000 for you. That's the expense, because remember, 100,000 divided by 3, right? 3 years is what you're going to get that for. All right. So suddenly they're not that cheap anymore, right? It adds a significant additional cost. In fact, that additional cost is 40% more than what you were paying. And if you were paying about 50,000, then that is 66%, 2/3 more than what you wanted to pay, right? So think about it. That makes an Indian on-site worker, an Indian person who's been sent on an H1B visa, right, less competitive. So the reason why H1B visas exist actually is not because there's a massive brain drain. It's nothing like that. You see, when American companies started outsourcing their tech jobs, the tech part, running their IT infrastructure, etc., to India, especially to India, what happened? There were certain things that you still had to run on site within the company, in the space. Or you would be somewhere sitting in another office and you will visit that company to go, and it happens all the time. Even in India, you know that if you're in an office, and everything is automated, and they're all taken care of through remote. Once in a while, someone has to come in and look at your computer, look at your servers, look at what is happening to the cabling, look at whether the software is corrupt on your side. All that has to be done, some maintenance. So a part of outsourcing is always onshore or on-site. It has to be done right there. And that is why, as outsourcing to Indian companies increased, so did onshoring, on-site work by Indian workers, usually sent by IT majors. So that is why H1B visas exploded from 2000 to the 2020s. There was a huge rise in H1B visas, and since then it has been reduced. Now, the reason why big companies send their people is because it's cheaper. That's the way it is. So if an Infosys sends an Infosys employee abroad and manages to get a 3-year thing, they live there, they live together, often bring their children, wives or children over, and then they open up that American dream for them. And they hope that maybe they'll be hired by someone else. Their H1B visa will be extended, and then they'll get a green card, and then they'll become citizens. For many Indians, especially from smaller towns or who are not privileged really, for them, this is the opening. This is a great opening. Often it is the thing to brag about. Their parents say, oh, my son is in line for an H1B visa. They're going to send him abroad, right? And that opens up the marriage market. That's the reality in India, right? Your chances of getting a wife or a husband, usually a wife, right? Let us be realistic here, increases dramatically when you are a high performing person and you say that, oh, my H1B visa, I'm on that list of people who might be sent abroad to work, right? So therefore, an H1B visa is an opening to that dream. Remember, 11 to 12 lakh Indians, 11 to 12 lakh applications are out there pending right now. Each of these applications used to roughly cost about $5,000, including things like getting a lawyer and all the logistics and the visa fee for H1B. That is about 100,000. Again, let me remind you, if you're sending someone who you're paying $50,000, that's a decent salary in India, because that is roughly $50,000 is 43 lakhs. So you're almost making 3.5 lakh rupees a month or more, right? Yes, your costs are more, but usually you'll send some amount back home. You'll take your family abroad. You get your children into American schools, and you come back with more social capital. Let us be very clear. And as that goes up, maybe you're closing in on the $100,000 thing, right? That's a significant salary. That's 7 lakhs a month. Even if you spend 5 lakhs out of that, you're still saving 2 lakhs, which you would never do back home in India. So it makes sense to work hard and move up the ladder so that you are one of those people who might be sent for on-site work. And that is now going to collapse, because $100,000 per person, that is more than double, right, that you'll have to pay in terms of salaries. And even if I take into account that it's for 3 years, averaged out for 3 years, that is between 50 to 60% more. Even if you average it out to 6 years, it's still 20 to 30% more. That 20 to 30% differential might actually cost you that business. They might get someone locally. So this is indeed going to make a big difference to IT workers in India, tech workers in India. And remember that there's a huge backlog of computer science graduates and undergrads in India today, because the hiring has stopped. In fact, it has reduced. Campus hiring has reduced. And even now in smaller towns, people send their kids to computer science degrees. Even especially lower middle class families or middle class families on the lower end of the middle class send their kids for computer science degrees, because it opens up a door for them, a future which was absent for their parents. and computer science has suddenly, or tech suddenly has become something that is not that lucrative anymore. It's a problem. You paid a lot of money, maybe lakhs, to get your child trained, and they're not getting a job. And even if they're getting it, that job is not going to be something that they wanted, because the pay is low. As we know, in IT, a lot of people are being sacked. And now, if there was a potential for people to go to the US, that has also closed. So this is a serious addition to the problem that India's IT employees are facing. It's going to increase uncertainty, and on top of that, given that there was this confusion over whether this H1B visa cost will be every year, that is what, by the way, Lutnick said repeatedly, it's every year that we are going to make it uneconomical for companies to bring in tech employees, just like that. So that seems to be the basic philosophy behind this change, and it is possible that it will come back at some point. So there is going to be uncertainty, anxiety levels which have already increased in the IT space, in the tech industry. That's only going to increase further.